How to Achieve the 1% Mindset Like a Samurai. The Samurai Discipline System Prologue. The Ordinary Man. Kyoto, 1603. Hiroshi was ordinary in every way. Not stupid, but not brilliant. Not weak, but not strong. Not lazy, but not disciplined. He was exactly average to 99% personified. He worked as a clerk for a merchant, copying ledgers, managing inventory. Decent job, decent life. Decent future? Nothing special. Nothing extraordinary. But deep inside, Hiroshi burned with a question that haunted his nights. Why are some men extraordinary while most remain ordinary? What separates the 1% from the 99%? He'd watched the samurai train, their discipline, their focus, their unwavering commitment to excellence. They were the 1%, the elite, the exceptional, the extraordinary. What makes them different? Hiroshi wondered. Are they born superior? Or is there a system, a way of thinking, a path anyone could follow? One day, courage finally overcame fear. Hiroshi approached the legendary samurai master Musashi Miyamoto at the training grounds. Master Musashi, he bowed deeply. I am ordinary. I want to become extraordinary. Will you teach me? Musashi studied him with penetrating eyes. Most men who ask this question don't really want the answer. They want magic. A shortcut, a secret technique that requires no sacrifice. The 1% mindset is not magic. It's a system, a discipline, a complete restructuring of how you think, act, and exist. It will destroy who you are to create who you could be. Are you willing to pay that price? Hiroshi's heart pounded. Yes, master. Then we begin tomorrow at dawn. Bring nothing but your commitment. Everything else, you will build. Day 1. Seeing clearly, dawn came cold and dark. Hiroshi arrived at the training grounds to find Musashi sitting in meditation. Sit, Musashi commanded without opening his eyes. Hiroshi sat. The first principle of the 1% mindset. Ruthless self-awareness. The 99% live in comfortable delusion. They believe they're better than they are. They make excuses for their mediocrity. They lie to themselves daily and call it self-compassion. The 1% see themselves exactly as they are. No delusion, no excuses, no lies. Brutal, uncomfortable, liberating truth. Musashi opened his eyes. For the next 7 days, you will practice awareness. You will observe yourself without judgment but also without mercy. You will see who you actually are, not who you imagine yourself to be. The mirror exercise. Musashi handed Hiroshi a polished bronze mirror. Each morning, look at yourself for 10 minutes. Not at your appearance, at your eyes. Ask yourself, who am I, really? What did I accomplish yesterday? What did I avoid yesterday? What excuses did I make? Where did I choose comfort over growth? What lie did I tell myself? Write down the truth. All of it. The 99% cannot do this. They look away from uncomfortable truths. The 1% stare directly at them. For 7 days, Hiroshi practiced. The first day was excruciating. Seeing his own mediocrity reflected back, his laziness, his excuses, his comfortable lies. By day 7, something shifted. The pain of seeing himself clearly became less sharp. And strangely, in accepting the truth of his current mediocrity, he felt the first stirring of genuine power. I am ordinary, he admitted to Musashi. I waste time. I make excuses. I choose comfort constantly. I am weak, undisciplined, and far below my potential. Good, Musashi said. Now you see clearly. This is the foundation. The 99% never get here. They're too busy pretending to be better than they are. You've taken the first step into the 1%. The non-negotiable morning. The 1% are not smarter than the 99%, Musashi taught. They simply have better systems. And all systems begin with the morning. Show me your morning, and I'll show you your life. Musashi outlined what he called the samurai morning protocol. Phase 1. Immediate action. First 60 seconds. Wake at predetermined time for Hiroshi. 1 hour before sunrise. No snooze. No negotiation. No 5 more minutes. Feet on floor within 5 seconds of waking. Cold water on face. Immediately. Why? The 99% negotiate with themselves every morning. The 1% execute without thought. Phase 2. Physical activation. Minutes to 30. 100 push-ups, 100 squats, 100 sword cuts. Not for fitness though, that comes for establishing dominance over the body. The body wants rest. You give it work. You are the master. Why? The 99% let the body dictate to the mind. The 1% make the mind dictate to the body. Phase 3. Mental clarity. Minutes 31 to 60. Sitting meditation. 30 minutes of presence. No goals. No trying. Just being. Training the mind to be still despite chaos. Why? The 99% have noisy minds that control them. The 1% have disciplined minds they control. Phase 4. Strategic. Planning. Minutes 61 to 90. Review. The day's objectives. 3 critical tasks identified. Everything else is secondary. Visualization of X. The 99% enter the day reactive. The 1% enter the day strategic. This morning ritual is non-negotiable, Musashi emphasized. The 99% do things when they feel like it. The 1% do things whether they feel like it or not. This is the difference. Week 1 results. The first week was brutal. Hiroshi's body screamed in protest. His mind rebelled. Every morning was a war, but he noticed something. By day 5, his days transformed. The discipline of the morning created discipline throughout the day. Decisions became easier. Focus became sharper. Energy increased. Master, why does the morning matter so much? Hiroshi asked. Because discipline is a muscle. The 99% think discipline is about big moments, major decisions, grand gestures. They're wrong. Discipline is about small moments, repeated daily. Win the morning, and you build momentum. Lose the morning, and you're in retreat all day. The 1% understand how you do anything is how you do everything. Master the morning, master your life. The teaching of responsibility. 1 month into training, Hiroshi failed a task Musashi assigned. He arrived with excuses. Master, I couldn't complete the task because the weather was bad, and my tools were inadequate, and I didn't have enough time, and Musashi held up his hand. Stop, you've just demonstrated the 99% mindset. Now learn the 1% mindset. The 99% make excuses. The 1% take ownership, complete ownership, absolute ownership, extreme ownership, he explained. Every outcome in your life is your responsibility, not your circumstances, not other people, not bad luck. Task incomplete. Your fault for poor planning. Weather ruined plans. Your fault for not accounting for weather. Tools inadequate. Your fault for not ensuring proper tools. Not enough time. Your fault for poor time management. The 99% blame external factors. The 1% look only at themselves. But master, Hiroshi protested, some things are genuinely beyond our control. Yes, and the 1% take responsibility for their response to those things. You cannot control the weather, but you can control your preparation for weather. You cannot control other people, but you can control your response to them. The formula is simple. 99% mindset. Outcome equals circumstances plus other people plus luck. Me 1% mindset. Outcome equals me including how I responded to circumstances, people, and luck. The first formula makes you a victim. The second makes you powerful. The practice of ownership. For 2 weeks, Musashi forbade Hiroshi from making any excuse or blaming any external factor. Task failed. I failed because I didn't prepare adequately. Training difficult. I'm finding it difficult because I haven't built sufficient capacity. Someone wronged him. I allowed myself to be in a vulnerable position. At first, this felt unfair, even delusional, but slowly, Hiroshi noticed, when you take complete responsibility, you gain complete power. If circumstances control your outcomes, you're helpless. If you control your outcomes through preparation, discipline, response, you're powerful. This is the second pillar of 1% mindset. Musashi taught, the 99% give away their power by blaming external factors. The 1% claim their power by taking full responsibility. The teaching of small actions. 3 months into training, Hiroshi had transformed noticeably, stronger, more focused, more disciplined. But he was impatient. Master, I want to achieve greatness faster. What advanced techniques can accelerate my progress? Musashi laughed. The 99% always ask this. They want secrets, shortcuts, advanced techniques. This is why they remain 99%. The 1% know the truth. There are no advanced techniques. There are only basic techniques, mastered through relentless consistency. He took Hiroshi to watch a master swordsmith. The swordsmith was folding steel. The same motion, repeated thousands of times, heating, hammering, folding, heating, hammering, folding, for hours, for days, for years. This is how the finest blades are made, Musashi explained. Not through advanced techniques, through basic techniques, repeated perfectly, consistently, endlessly. The 99% seek complexity. The 1% seek consistency. The 1% principle. Musashi taught Hiroshi what he called the 1% principle. Improve 1% each day. Just 1%. Not 50%. Not 100%. 1%. 1% stronger, 1% more focused, 1% more disciplined, 1% more skilled. The 99% think this is too small to matter. They want dramatic transformation, massive change, revolutionary results. They're wrong. Do the math. 1% better each day equals 37 times better in 1 year. 1% worse each day equals nearly 0 in 1 year. The 1% understand. Greatness is not one massive leap. It's a million tiny steps. The 99% make grand plans and fail. The 1% make tiny plans and succeed, day after day after day. After 1 year, the difference is astronomical. The teaching of delayed gratification. 6 months into training, Hiroshi had achieved visible transformation. Other clerks noticed. How did you change so much? They asked. Hiroshi wanted to share his success, to teach them, to help them transform too. But when he explained the system, wake before dawn, cold water, intense training, daily discipline, they balked. That's too hard, they said. Too much work, too uncomfortable. Isn't there an easier way? Hiroshi reported this to Musashi, confused. Master, why won't they follow a system that clearly works? Because they think like the 99%, and the 99% cannot think long-term, Musashi explained. The human mind has 2 modes. Short-term mode 99, thinking, seeks immediate pleasure. Immediate pain values comfort now cannot see beyond today controlled by impulse. Long-term mode, 1% thinking, accepts short-term pain for long-term gain, delays gratification. Future outcomes over present comfort, sees years ahead controlled by vision. The 99% choose what feels good today. The 1% choose what creates greatness tomorrow. Your friends want transformation, but they want it now, easily, comfortably. When you tell them it requires years of daily discomfort, they reject it, not because it won't work, but because they cannot think beyond today. The 5-year vision. Musashi taught Hiroshi an exercise. Close your eyes. Imagine yourself 5 years from now. 2 versions. Version 1, you continue your current path. Same habits, same discipline, or lack thereof, same choices. Where are you in 5 years? Version 2, you follow the 1% system relentlessly, every day, for 5 years. Where are you? Now open your eyes and choose. The 99% choose version 1 because it's easier today. The 1% choose version 2 because it's better tomorrow. The difference between the 99% and the 1%. The 1% can feel future regret more powerfully than they feel present discomfort. Hiroshi practiced this visualization daily. It transformed his relationship with discipline. The morning training wasn't suffering, it was investment. The daily discomfort wasn't pen, it was compound interest on his future. The teaching of relentless standards. 1 year into training, Hiroshi had become genuinely impressive, stronger than most, more disciplined than most, more focused than most. He felt proud. Master, I've come so far. I'm now better than most men my age. Musashi's response was sharp, and there is the trap. The moment you compare yourself to most men, you've adopted the 99% mindset. The 99% compare themselves to other 99% people. This makes them feel good about mediocre performance. I'm better than average, they say, satisfied. The 1% never compare themselves to average. They compare themselves only to the absolute best in their field. Their own potential. Yesterday's version of themselves, better than most, is a poisonous mindset. It breeds complacency. The 1% are never satisfied with better than most. The standard of excellence. Musashi outlined the 1% standard. The 99% ask, am I good enough? The 1% ask, am I the best I can possibly be? The 99% measure against average performers. The 1% measure against peak performers. The 99% celebrate being above average. The 1% celebrate approaching their potential. The 99% are satisfied with pretty good. The 1% are satisfied with absolutely excellent. This is not about ego, Musashi clarified. It's about standards. The 99% have low standards disguised as humility. The 1% have high standards disguised as dissatisfaction. Set your bar at excellence. Never lower it, ever, for any reason. The daily question. Musashi gave Hiroshi a new practice. Each evening ask, did I perform at 1% standards today? Not, did I do okay? Not, was I better than yesterday? But, did I operate at the level of excellence? Most days the answer will be no. This is good. It keeps you hungry. It keeps you pushing. It keeps you from the comfortable mediocrity that destroys 99% of people. 2 years later, 2 years after beginning his training, Hiroshi was unrecognizable. Physically, his body had transformed from soft to steel. Disciplined training had created a warrior's physique. Mentally, his mind was sharp, focused, unshakable. The scattered clerk had become the strategic thinker. Emotionally, he'd developed what Musashi called Samurai Tom, unshaken by circumstances, centered in himself. Spiritually, he'd found purpose, meaning, direction, no longer drifting, but aimed. But the deepest change was invisible. His mindset had transformed from 99% to 1%. The 7 pillars of the 1% mindset. Musashi formalized Hiroshi's training into what he called the 7 pillars. Pillar 1, ruthless self-awareness. Yourself exactly as you are. No comfortable delusions, accept truth. However uncomfortable, use reality as foundation. Pillar 2, extreme ownership. Say complete responsibility for all outcomes. No excuses, no blame, no victims. If it's in your life, it's your responsibility. Responsibility equals power. Pillar 3, daily discipline. System. Non-negotiable morning routine. Win the morning, when the day system's over. Motivation. Consistency over intensity. Pillar 4, 1% improvement. Tiny daily gains. Compound massively. Focus on process, not just outcomes. Relentless consistency beats sporadic intensity. Trust the compound effect. Matera 5, long-term vision. Think in years, not days. Delay gratification for future gain. Feel future regret more than present discomfort. Play the long game. Pillar 6, excellence standards. Never compared to average. Measure against the best. Never satisfied with good enough. Excellence is the only acceptable standard. Pillar 7, continuous learning. Every experience is a lesson. Failure is data, not defeat. Stay humble. Stay curious. Never stop improving. These 7 pillars, Musashi taught, separate the 1% from the 99%. Master them, and you master yourself. Master yourself, and you master your destiny. 5 years later, 5 years after his transformation began, Hiroshi had become a samurai, not just in title, but in essence. He now trained others, passing on what Musashi had taught him. Young men came to him with the same question he'd once asked. How do I become extraordinary? And Hiroshi taught them the same system. The 1% discipline system, complete protocol, morning foundation daily. Non-negotiable, 5 a.m. wake alarm, sounds once feet on floor within 5 seconds, no snooze. No negotiation, 5:01 to 5:30 a.m. Physical activation, 100 push-ups, 100 squats, 100 sword cuts or equivalent movement dominance over body, established 5:31 to 6 o'clock. And mental clarity, 30-minute sitting. Meditation, training presence, and focus building mental. Discipline, 6:01 to 6:30 a.m. Strategic planning review. Objectives: identify 3 critical tasks, visualize successful execution, enter day, with intention, daily practices throughout day. Extreme ownership, no excuses for any outcome, complete responsibility, claimed problems, seen as personal challenges, 1% specific 1% upgrade, consistently track progress, daily standards, every task done to highest standard, no good enough compromises, compare only to best. Not average. Evening review, daily reflection, evening questions, 30 minutes. What 1% improvement did I make? Where did I maintain discipline? Did I operate at 1% standards? What will I improve tomorrow? Where did I make excuses today? How do I feel about today's effort? Visualization, see tomorrow's success, see 5-year vision, reinforce long-term thinking, weekly assessment. Sunday strategic review, did I maintain the system all 7 days? Where did I break discipline? What patterns need correction? How much have I improved from last week? Am I closer to my 5-year vision? Monthly recalibration, monthly deep revision, progress against standards, adjust systems as needed, identify weak areas, plan next month's focus, ensure alignment with long-term vision. The modern application. 2024. Kenji sat in his apartment, scrolling mindlessly through social media, feeling empty despite comfort, wondering why his life felt so ordinary. He was average, the 99%, and he knew it. In desperation, he searched how to become extraordinary. He found a blog post about an ancient samurai discipline system, about a man named Hiroshi who transformed from ordinary clerk to elite warrior through systematic discipline. Kenji read it twice, then made a decision. The next morning, his alarm rang at 5 a.m. For the first time in years, he didn't hit snooze. Feet on floor within 5 seconds, cold water on face, 100 push-ups. It was hard. Everything screamed to stop, to go back to bed, to choose comfort. But he'd made a choice. 1% or 99%. 6 months later, Kenji had transformed. Not completely. He wasn't a master, but he was no longer ordinary. The morning discipline had become automatic. The daily 1% improvements had compounded. The long-term thinking had reshaped his decisions. He'd quit the job that was comfortable but dead, started the business he'd been planning for years, built the body he'd always wanted, developed the mind he'd always needed. His friends asked, "How did you change so much?" And Kenji taught them what he'd learned. The difference between the 99% and the 1% isn't talent. It's not luck. It's not circumstances. It's mindset. And mindset is a system. The 99% rely on motivation. The 1% rely on discipline. The 99% seek comfort. The 1% seek excellence. The 99% think short-term. The 1% think long-term. The 99% make excuses. The 1% take ownership. The 99% are satisfied with average. The 1% demand the best. And the beautiful truth: anyone can choose. Right now, this moment, choose to be the 1%. Conclusion: your choice right now. Read this and feel inspired. Plan to start tomorrow. Find excuses why this won't work for them. Return to comfortable mediocrity. Wonder why they never changed. The 1% will. Read this and take immediate action. Set alarm for tomorrow's 5 a.m. wake. The system starting now. Accept the discomfort as necessary. Transform over the next year. Which will you be? The challenge: 30-day trial of the 1% mindset. Commit to 30 days of the complete system. Wake at 5 a.m. or 1 hour earlier than current. Physical activation, 100 reps of something. Mental clarity, 30-minute meditation. Strategic planning, 30-minute daily, 1%. Improvement evening review, no excuses, no exceptions. What happens in 30 days? The 99% who start, most quit by day 3. They discovered they value comfort over growth. The 1% who start, finish all 30. They discover they're capable of far more than they knew. The final truth: the 1% aren't superhuman. They're not gifted with special abilities. They simply refuse to accept average. They understand discipline is freedom. Consistency is power. Long-term thinking is wisdom. Extreme ownership is strength. And they implement a system that guarantees results. The samurai discipline system works, not because it's magic, but because it's systematic. Wake early, train hard, think clearly, plan strategically, improve daily, own everything, demand excellence. Think long-term, do this for 1 year, and you will not recognize yourself. The question is not, Can I become the 1%? The question is, will I pay the price the 1% pay? The price is not talent, not luck, not privilege. The price is discipline, daily, relentless, non-negotiable. Will you pay it? The alarm will ring tomorrow morning. The 99% will hit snooze. The 1% will attack the day. Which will you be?